issues which the male speaker cannot talk about, which the female can. But you can't have a female speaker who's generations and generations ahead of the younger woman. You need a young woman speaking to young woman. Someone who identifies with them, someone who speaks for them, someone who knows the life they are living. We find, unfortunately, every time a young woman speaker rises in our communities, you've always got the group who are ready to open their mouths. They are the group who are like, who's she to tell me about how I should be religious? Do you know how she was when she was younger? So you never heard the story of Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi? You never heard the story of how Hur changed? Can't you change as well? Why is it that in our Western circles, whenever a woman speaker who's young wants to emerge, we always put her down? We never allow her development. In the same way, I can sit on the minbar of Ahlul Bayt as someone. For the males of the community, there has to be even more than me in terms of the females coming to speak. That's number one. Number two, there has to be a reform of the majalis, of the gatherings of the elder woman in our community. What do I mean? I mean, do you know it's reached a stage where in the lectures of the elder woman in our community, it's reached a stage where the women go there to cry, not to learn. What do you go there for? You listen to the lecturer, she makes you cry. Give me a topic. Examine history, examine ethics, examine theology, examine jurisprudence. No! 45 minutes on Karbala al-Hussein. I love Imam al-Hussein. I promise I love Imam al-Hussein. But give me some substance. The elder woman in the school of Ahlul Bayt, in their majalis, in the Arabic language, in the Indo-Pak language, in the Persian language, are just tales of emotional history. Is there substance? No, there's no substance. And what's it become? Why are you going to the majlis? I'm going to see my friends. You're not going to learn? No. Everyone's going there. She's going, he's going, she's going. I have to be there. That ladies' majlis, which was founded on Fatimat al-Zahra, which was founded on Sayyida Zainab, which was founded on knowledge, which changed your life, has just become a mere social gathering for people to come and sit down and discuss their affairs. Whereas there needs to be a reform in this area, where women's majalis, which are held in the traditional languages, address the current issues. Number three, the women of the community have to have as much say in the mosques as the men of the community. What do I mean? I mean, why is it that the women in the community in many of the mosques are put in the worst area of the mosque, whereas the men are sitting right in front of the speaker in their comfort zone? The women are put downstairs, the men upstairs. The women are put in the worst places, whereas the men are put in the best. The men make all the decisions for the mosques, the women make none. In the same way the men can see the youth, the women can see the youth. There should be open voting where men and women can lead communities. Because the religion of Islam did not come as a patriarchal religion. It came to ensure that every member of the community had a say. That's why when you come to someone like Rima Faqih, if you were ever to sit with her, say to her, Rima, did you ever hear of the great woman who came before you? Who you could have taken as a role model in your life? Woman who served this religion? Someone will say to me, but Sayyid Ammar, these women you're going to mention, they lived 1,000 years ago. Rima's not going to relate to any of them. No. If I can make their lessons contemporary, then Rima and all of us in this hall can relate to them. What do I mean? I have a sister, or I have a daughter, or I have a niece who comes to me and says to me, I want to be religious, but I'm too attached to the dunya, and I can't leave it. I can't even see why I should be attached to the akhirah. I say to her, did you ever hear of a lady in history called Asiya? The wife of Pharaoh. Asiya's husband would not allow her to walk on the ground. He would make people carry her because he loved her that much. He even did not kill the baby Musa out of his love for Asiya. The palaces of the world were hers. I tell you, sisters, you will not find any of us in this whole hall today who will own as much of an empire as Asiya owned. She could have easily said, I'm attached to the dunya, I can't get out and think of the akhirah. But Asiya showed us very clearly that even if you're in the middle of the richest environment, sometimes this world is too short for us not to reflect about it. When she saw Musa defeat the magicians, she came forward and she said, I now believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun. Fir'aun came forward and he said to her, you're telling me that you're going to leave me as God and you're going to go towards the Lord of Musa? She said, yes. He said, Asiya, I gave you this whole world. She said, the Lord of Musa gives me the hereafter and the world. He said to her, but what's the difference between me and him? I am a God and he is a God. She replied by saying, the Lord of Musa is always awake, whereas Fir'aun can sometimes go to sleep. She looked at him, she was attached to the dunya. No, she wasn't. When you say, I can't leave the love of this world, I'm too attached to it, take her as a role model. She could have been attached to this world, yet at the end, what did she say? Oh Allah, build for me a house with you in Jannah. You could take her as an example. Someone comes and says, Sayyid Ammar, I want to be involved in the political affairs of my country, Australia. I want to get involved in politics. I want to change the future of the political environment. Who can I take as a role model? I say, take Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam as your role model. Fatima al-Zahra did not just stay at home and say, I as a woman am only going to bring up Hassan and Hussein and Zainab and Kulthum and nothing else. Fatima al-Zahra knew that unless the woman gets involved in the political world, then we'll have cases of injustice which may happen, cases of oppression which may happen. You as a woman can represent your community. Do not let any man come and tell you that politically you have no place. Politically, that Fatima stood up and spoke to the whole of Medina about those who usurped the leadership of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And she stood up and spoke about those who took the land of Fadak from her. Fatima could have turned around and said, no, it's haram. It's not part of hijab to enter politics. On the contrary, you enter to serve Islam. You enter to remove oppression. You enter and you're not compromising your values. Then there's no problem whatsoever. Fatima al-Zahra's khutbah at Fadak is a khutbah every single one of you should have read by your age. If you haven't read it, then don't cry for Fatima. There's no point. Your tears have to be matched with research, with knowledge, with implementation. Read that khutbah of Fatima, your grandmother, the lady who held your religion. Read that khutbah where she shook the whole of Medina on the political scene. Someone comes forward and says that I look at the oppression happening in the world. I want to start a group on the internet or in my community speaking out against oppression. Look at Sumayya, the mother of Ammar ibn Yasir. Sumayya, sitting down, originally hadn't been a Muslim. She saw her son Ammar become a Muslim. She heard the verse, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. She heard Rasulullah say, why is the female buried alive? She began to cry because her two elder sisters were buried alive as females. This Sumayya, when she joined the religion, she saw Abu Jahl oppressing Rasulullah. She spoke out against Abu Jahl. She formed a group of women who were Sahaba of Rasulullah. She formed them to speak out against Abu Jahl and Abu Sufyan and Walid ibn al-Mughira. This Sumayya, Abu Jahl was standing on top of her with a spear. When he was standing on top of her with a spear, he said to her, leave the religion of Muhammad and I will let you go. She said, I'll never leave the religion of Rasulullah. He used the spear to rip the middle of her body into pieces. Isn't Sumayya alive today? Don't we have Sumayyas? Don't we have Sumayyas who are forming